This was a landmark study, part of what we're going to be looking at today, where Environmental Working Group, nonprofit organization, 2005, first study of its kind ever done in the world, took 12 pregnant mothers from 12 different states in the U.S. At the moment of birth, took the umbilical cord from each of those 12 mothers and screened it for over 5,000 different industrial contaminants. On average, what they found was 287 toxic industrial contaminants in the umbilical cord of each mother, child, baby, meaning that's what the baby was being exposed to as they're developing in utero. So when we start to understand this is the starting point of today's children, as opposed to 40, 50 years ago, we can start to understand why there's so many disaffects happening now.
Different playing field.
So, what do all of these environmental contaminants do? Heavy metals, pesticides, chemicals disrupt the hormonal system, disrupt the immune system, disrupt the brain. So this, and if we go back way, way, way back, we find a founding principle of naturopathic medicine, Hippocrates. This is 2,500 years ago. The foundation of all disease is the gut. Now we know the gut is called the microbiome. We've got real fancy. But we also understand how important that plays as a platform for every child growing up. So this was just to give an overview of what we're going to look into with our very special guest today.
Yeah,
Thank you.
it's a great honor to have you here. Speaking of microbiome, I just came to learn the other day that the genetic information found within the DNA of the little bugs that exist in our gut is in the terabytes of data. I don't even know what that means, by the way. I'm kind of familiar with, we've heard gigabytes and terabytes, but the petabytes, sorry, not terabytes, petabytes of information in our gut microbiome. Again, that's kind of, beyond my, understanding of data points, but it's an unreal. Off camera, we're talking about epigenetics, though.
Yeah, well, here's something else before we get to that.
Yeah, sure.
We inherit our microbiome and our mitochondrial DNA from the mother. So, yes, the mother and father combine to produce the child, but it's really the mother's responsibility to set the stage for that child to have a healthy life.
To set the platform. Yeah.
And we're all about the first 7 years here, right? Yeah. 0 is, by the way, not as soon as a child's born. Right. It's in utero. In fact, we could even argue, talking about epigenetics and genetics, we could argue that I actually might start with the health of mom and dad, in their early years as well. But that is maybe outside the scope of the show. What would you say to that end, though, about in utero health? That's where it starts. And what are some of the important things for mom to be considering when it comes to first-line naturopathic medicine?
The healthier the mom is, the healthier the baby will be. Right. I think everyone can see that that's a very wise approach.
Yeah. And if we look at supplementation during that period, obviously, most people know, a good prenatal, folic acid, maybe vitamin C. But especially the fatty acids, the omega-3s, the DHA, extremely important during that time period too.
Yeah, when we look at how an embryo develops into a fetus and a fetus into a child, it's a miracle. And there are certain building blocks that process requires. And we can make it easier to have health in that future child by making sure those building blocks are there.
Through the mother's diet and supplementation.
Yes. Yes.
So I recall there's a 2001 study, Journal of Pediatrics. They gave one group of pregnant women cod liver oil throughout the pregnancy, the other group corn oil, and then followed their children until 5 years of age. The group of mothers who just took the extra cod liver oil during the pregnancy, their children on average by the age of 4 and 5, an extra 4 IQ points, purely because you're just giving the nutrient that the brain requires to grow properly.
Yeah, the brain is literally a vat of fat.
Yeah.
And the type of fat the mother consumes and then ultimately the child consumes, that's going to determine the type of fat in the brain. And the type of fat is going to determine how well that brain forms and how well it functions. And these long-chain omega-3 fatty acids that we get from fish and fish oil supplements and now algal supplements are critical to that. And they've looked at not only people eating a general diet showing deficiencies of these key omega-3 fatty acids, but in particular, since more people are opting for a vegan or a vegetarian diet, they're at extreme risk. So they think they might be doing good for their child by being a vegan or a vegetarian, but if they're not supplementing with these omega-3 fatty acids, they're likely very deficient in them.
Let's further motivate our listeners where omega-3s come into play. A study in pediatrics, 2003, supplementation with omega-3s boosts IQ points. We all are good friends with Dr. Bill Sears. We've had him on the show. He likes to refer to all of us, but especially his pediatric population, as fatheads. That's what he calls us all. We're all fatheads, he says. So, but this, and that refers to the idea of IQ, it comes back to it plays a role not just in formation of the brain and the prefrontal cortex and eventually our mood, behavior, or ability to emote, but also IQ.
And, because we understand now the brain is, 50% made out of fats and oils. That's what it is. And then 50% of those fats and oils is DHA. So DHA is the predominant fuel, food, nutrient for the brain. And especially the first 7 years where the child's brain grows to 95% of an adult, that's the fuel.
And for the mothers out there, if they're not getting enough omega-3 fatty acids in their diet, the baby is going to, the fetus is going to be pulling as much as it possibly can to develop properly. And that makes her at risk for developing postpartum depression.
Right.
So,
by the way, quick plug for also a good friend of ours, Dr. Bill Harris, who's developed Omega Quant. You can test your blood spot for your omega-3 status. But what I love about what they've done, and his daughter, in fact, runs in the family, Dr. Jackson Harris, is a breast milk DHA level. So you can test your breast milk now, simple breast milk sample on a little card, send it off to their lab, and they can tell you how you're doing. And I love what you said a minute ago about DHA from algal oil, because scientists have figured this out now. Because I often, in my own clinical practice, talking about how we got to be worried about where the source is from. This is as much avoiding toxins and choosing clean products. And algae, turns out, is probably a little cleaner.
Yeah, one concern I have with the focus on DHA in the supplements is that the overwhelming majority of the DHA in the brain is formed there, and EPA is maybe a better way to boost brain DHA levels than taking the DHA supplement. So with algal oils especially, many of them are just DHA.
Right.
I would make sure that there's EPA in there as well.
No, that's why historically I've always liked the cod liver oil, because it has that great balance of both the DHA, EPA. And if it goes through that, molecular distillation process that removes pesticides, dioxins, heavy metals, then we've got a clean supplement giving both.